Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in to check out your boy, P Funk. Thinking right out here in the lab where I do what I do. Oh, this is part two, but I've been trying to get you to understand about religion and yoga. So let's get the party started. Rightism, 25 rules to live by. Storytelling, story with a message. The message in the story for life. I give life lessons. You tune in and receiving them. We got a good thing going. I appreciate you. Let's rock. Right Thinker's mission, and that's what I'm on, is to enlighten, sweating like a pig too, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right Thinker's way of life through mental and spiritual discipline daily will help and guide you to obtain your goal of spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission, and I'm on it, is to get all right thinkers practice right thinking philosophy to know thyself. If you're practicing right thinking, your goal should be to know thyself, because that's the mission I'm on, to get you to do just that. So I asked the question, do you know you? Excuse me. It's a rhetorical question, but if you don't have the answer for yourself, tune in. I can help you with that. That's what I do for you. A person who knows not, and knows not that they know not, foolish, disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple. You can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. Appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believes and thinks that they know is dangerous. Avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I'm the spiritual alarm clock. I can awaken them with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself. And to my yacht, be true. I'm going to pick up where I left off at. I was discussing the disciplines of yoga, and they fall under five major categories. I'm about to break that down for you. So, right thinkers, let's talk about, I got it written down. Two forms of knowledge. First of all, you have intellectual, aka theoretical, and you have absolute. What's that? Absolute knowledge is experiential knowledge. Right thinker philosophy's goal is to lead you, the right thinker, on your own experience with what? God. Well, how are you going to do that? Through studying and righteous and virtuous living. When? Daily. That's the way I did it. And I'm going to break down the five disciplines of yoga and the three stages of religion. Okay, that's the lesson for today. Let's go. I'm ready to get started because I got some good information for you. So, the practice of any discipline that leads to one's oneness with the supreme consciousness can be called yoga. Okay? If you study, rationalize, and reflect upon the teachings, you are practicing, you ready? That's yoga of wisdom. You're starting to become wise in what? Your execution of the things that you're learning. You're manifesting them and you're gaining wisdom from the experience. Okay? If you meditate, that's one. If you meditate upon the teachings and your higher self, you are practicing, you ready for this? Yoga of meditation, which is one of my favorites. Why? Because you commune with your higher self, aka God. If you practice rituals, which most Christians and religious people do, religious rituals with identity, you, with your spiritual nature, you are practicing, ready, yoga of ritual identification. Pretty much religion, which is what? Part of the yoga of wisdom and the yoga of devotional love of the divine. There you go. Yoga of devotion, divine for love. Those are your religious Zolites, fanatics. Okay? But got a bunch of them. And every religion has them. They just go all out. They just don't have no rhyme or reason, no rationale. They just go all out. But you have to have some discipline. And if you develop your physical nature and psychic energy centers, you know where I'm going with this one, right? You are practicing, serpent power, aka Kundalini or Uraeus yoga. Every idea and concept had a philosophy that went with it that you can master, which is part of what? Tantra yoga. If you practice living according to the teachings of the ethical behavior and selflessness. Now you are what? Practicing right thinking. Oh, no, excuse me. Yoga of action, aka Maya, which is right thinking in your daily life. That's the caveat with Maya. You have to practice it daily. Hence, way of life, not a religion. If you practice turning your attention towards the divine by developing love for the God, divine, aka God, then it is called what? Devotional yoga or yoga of divine love. Again, but you don't have to be fanatical about it. The practitioner of yoga is called a yogin if he's male practitioner, yogini if you're female practitioner. And one who has attained, listen, one who has attained, not practiced, but attained the culmination of yoga, which is the union with the divine, meaning you had your own God experience, is called what? You ready? A yogi. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. I'm a yogi. Why? I've made the connection. I'm trying to get you to do the same thing on your terms. Okay? Now, in this manner, yoga has been what? Developed into what? Many disciplines which may be used in what? In an integral fashion. Meaning you master them all and you use them accordingly. Again, better to have it and don't need it than to need it and don't have it. So, when you use them in an integral fashion, you can achieve what? The same goal, which is what? You ready? Enlightenment. The goal is to enlighten yourself with what? Your spiritual knowledge. Thyself. Therefore, you, the aspirant, should learn about all the paths of yoga and choose what? Those elements to what? Concentrate on which best suits his or her personality, and you practice them when? All in an integral, balanced way, which is in your daily life every day. You're going to practice something. You got to put it in your everyday life, and you can practice it while you're living. That's the key to learning and being better at your stuff, what you're going to be doing. I got to do this, that. Nope. Live it. Manifest it for yourself. If you got an idea, you got a concept, manifest it. See if it works. See if it's true. In your mind, it can be anything. When you put it to experiential test, you'll know for yourself. That's the difference. Enlightenment, that's the difference, is a term that they use to what? To describe the highest level of what? Spiritual awakening. Once you know God, that's the highest level. Thyself. It means what? Attaining, again, attaining such a level of spiritual awareness that what? That you, one, discovers what? The underlying unity in what? The entire universe, as well as the fact that the source of all creation is what? The same source from which the innermost self within every human being heart arises. We are made and come from the same thing. It is a state of what? Ecstasy and bliss, which transcends all concepts and descriptions, and which does not what? Diminish, and is not affected by what? The passage of time or physical conditions. That means it's got to be internal, it's got to be spiritual. That's what goes on forever, not the physical body. It is what? In the state of enlightenment that what? The absolute proof. Well, how you get absolute proof about God? Ding, 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 ding. Now we come into my world. That absolute proof of what? The teachings of right thinking philosophy or the mystical spiritualities are what? Are to be found not in the books. Not in the doctrines. No. At least not in the dogmas. But this is because intellectual knowledge is only what? The beginning on the road which leads to what? You ready? True knowledge, aka self-knowledge. There are two forms of knowledge. Now we get into the nitty-gritty. Here we go. Thinking caps on, everybody, because it's about to get good. You got two forms of knowledge. You have intellectual, or what they call theoretical knowledge. That's theology. The concept of what they tell you about the beginning, everybody. Yeah, that's theological. Okay, that's fine. But then you got absolute knowledge, which is what? Your own personal experience with God. The mystical experience, the awakening, all that stuff right there. That's the absolute knowledge, the truth. What it is? The teachings of right thinking philosophy and the advanced stages of religion. Watch this. I consider my pastor advanced stage of religion. Watch this, because we get together and we both can lead a person to what? Experience what? The truth about the transcendental, immortal, and internal nature of the soul and its existence of God. My pastor believes he knows. I believe I know. We confer, we agree, we concur on everything that we think and believe about our concept of God. So we don't argue, fuss, and fight. We share and we enlighten each other. And this is what differentiates. This is what differentiates yoga from what intellectual philosophies and debates, cults, or even religious dogma. You can say what you want. You can believe what you want. But when you experience what you know, now you ain't got to believe. You can experience it and have what? Knowledge of it. Gnosis. You know now for yourself. And to have that experience with God for yourself is things you can do to make it happen. That's my point. That's my mission, to get you as a right thinker to do just that. What? To have it for yourself. Watch this. In yoga, there is no exalting to believe in anything other than what? What you can what? Prove. Through what? Your own experience. Again, I'm only speaking from my experience, my life story. I'm telling it to you to give you a lesson. Why? Because it's part of my life. Life lessons, right? Isms, that's what they are. Right? Then philosophy is she taught another philosophy. I just switched up the concept for my own personal concept that I give you from my life. It's not she taught another. When I'm telling the stories of me, I still use the philosophy, didn't change none of that. So understand that. But this is the reason why. Once you experience God for yourself, that's spiritual. That ain't religion. You can practice any religion you want. I fellowship with Christians. If I hung out with Muslims, I go to the mosque. Simple. But understand, when you have knowledge of self, it don't make a difference what everybody else is doing. You can go fellowship, hang out, and do what you got to do. As long as you got your own. I'm so glad I got my own. Why? Now I can see my life is for real. Man can't run the game on me. Why? I know myself. I want all my right thinkers to be that assertive in the knowledge that they're putting out right now. We're in the information age of Aquarius. But quick tidbit, we've been here before. This ain't the first age of Aquarius. I'm just saying, that's how long we have been around. So in order to do what I do, all that is necessary is to what? Follow the disciplines. I didn't create none. I didn't make none. I followed them and mastered them. Sorry about that. But which has been what? Scientifically outlined for what? Many thousands of years ago. I can tell you, I got an ancient concept. I'm just modernizing, colonizing, and hopefully getting it to be understood by those so they can use it, practically use what the knowledge that our ancestors used. That's my goal. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to do for you. Moving on. All forms of spiritual practice are directed toward the goal of what? Assisting every individual that practiced that religious concept to what? To discover the true essence of the universe, both externally in physical creation and what? Internally within what? The heart as the very root of human consciousness. God dwells here. I keep telling you that. He gave you this so you can make the connection. The heart, mind, coherence, that's the marriage that you're supposed to have within yourself. The war is you fighting each other. That's never going to be good. But your lower nature is the ego. Your higher nature is God. He's there. You just got to recognize it. We come here not knowing that. So before we leave, we should recognize that. My goal is to get all right thinkers to do just that. Nothing else. Moving on. I'm trying to get my point across. Hope it's working. All forms, again, of spiritual. Okay, but watch this. Thus, you have many terms which are used to describe the attainment of that goal of what? spiritual knowledge, aka nihas, or the eradication of what? Spiritual ignorance. When you stomp out the ego, when you conquer him, there's some terms that are used. You ready? Enlightenment, resurrection, salvation, the kingdom of heaven. Sound familiar? Moksha, or liberation. Buddha, my man, consciousness. Okay, Buddha consciousness is the same as Christ consciousness, just from the Hindu concept, from the Buddha concept, and the Christian concept. They're the same thing. I'm trying to tell you, all religions goes to get you to the same place. I did that before we started, so understand that. And you got this one with the Tao, self-realization. These are all names for enlightened beings, but we ain't got to mine yet. Here we go, right here. Know thyself, etc. And Nihas would be my favorite. Why? Because they can't define it. It's ours. They can't steal it. Okay, it's unique in its meaning and its position, so it's ours. So also you have many names that have been used to describe what? That transcendental essence. You ready? God, Allah, Commissions, Asar, Aset, Indians, Krishna, Hindus, Buddha, the higher self. I like that one. Supreme being, and many others. These are words that describe God. That's all. Why? If he's always say he is, this is just a title recognizing him for who he is. We call him the all-encompassing, the absolute, the all-conscious. Whatever you want to call him, it's all the same thing. Now let's talk about, okay, I'm about to wrap it up for you. I see the clock running. Let's get into the 3 stages of religion. And if it's practiced correctly and right, it works. That's my point. While on the surface, it seems that there are many differences between the philosophies, but upon closer reflection, there is only one major division. That of what? Belief or non-belief. That's the Christian religious concept. I don't have no use for belief or non-belief. I need to know or not know. That's just my concept. I'm just throwing that one in there. Let's go. So now among the believers, there are differences. Hello, of what? Opinions. Because like armpits and buttholes, we all have them. And sometimes they stink. Okay, that's the fact. But as to how to believe, really. And that could be a problem. This is why you got so many denominations of religion, because everybody wants their own belief to be adhered to. What do you know? What can you factually prove? That should be what you stand on, not your belief. Sorry, calm down. But this is the source of what? All the trouble, here you go, between religions. That's their issue. My issue is you take God and put him in a burning bush, we done. You take Jesus and put him in the seat of God in heaven, we are so done. That's all. I'll make it real plain and simple for you. We ain't gonna sit and go back and forth and argue. I have my opinion, I have my reasons. That's good enough. You got your belief, you got what you want. That's fine by me. This is because what? The main problem between religions is what? This is because ordinary religion is what? Theistic. Based on what? Traditions and customs, which are themselves based on what? Culture. I keep telling you, back at the time. Y'all to go back 2,000 years when the Romans was in control of everything. They who want to start the Bible. Y'all to take that knowledge, but you won't go back to Egypt and get the original. I'm leave that there. But what's this? Based on y'all culture. And since culture varies again from what? Place to place and from time in history to time another, there will always be some variations in the spiritual traditions. These differences will occur not only between cultures, but even within the same culture. An example of this is, you ready? Christianity with its myriad of denominations. Right there. That's my problem. And I don't have time to do all of that. So y'all can have fun, knock yourself out. Therefore, watch this. Those who cling to the idea that religion has to be related to a particular culture and its specific practices or rituals will always have some difference with someone else's what? conceptions. You can't conceptualize facts. Moving on. And you have different conceptions in what? In the three stages of religion, you have the myth, the ritual, and the mysticism. The mysticism is the end result of you practicing, listening to the myth, practicing the ritual, and something will happen. It's mystical, but you will experience it for yourself. It's called the anointment, Christhood. Whatever you want as a Christian, that's what you aspire to do. And that happens from what? Your deeds, how you live. Simple, what you practice. I see that going on with my church family. I love that. That's why I fellowship with them. Moving on. Okay, you got the myth, the ritual, and mysticism. Now, culture belongs to the myth. That's the stage of what? Religious practice. And that's the what? The most elementary level. That's just the first level. So you got a bunch of people, 1 degree of spirituality and Christianity, claim to be Christians and don't have a clue about the next two concepts, which is what? The second one. Where we at? Myth, ritual, mysticism. An important thing which will be developed throughout this volume is what? Is what? The complete practice and the correct practice of a religion. That is in its three aspects: mythology, the story, ritual, practice, and the metaphysical, or what they call what? The mystical experience. Mysticism, mystical philosophy. This is all, and at the first level of human being learns what? The story. That's the myth. That's the first level, the most elementary level. Stories and traditions of that religion. Now you got the second. At the second level, you have the rituals, the practice, or learned and what? Practice. At the third level, and just like the Masonic order and anything else that is done in degrees or stages or levels, a lot of people get one level, don't come back. Some get two, don't complete it. And then you got some that go to the third level, which is the level of what? Spiritual aspiration. That spiritual aspirant, you are led to what? Actually go beyond the myth again and beyond the ritual. Why? And to attain the ultimate goal of the religious practice. Again, their goal is to get you there. Your job is to practice it, live it, and get there for yourself. That's why you got a bunch who's there and a bunch who's not, but you can't tell the difference. Why? Because they all profess to be the same thing. I got a story for that, but I don't have time for that. Let me get the lesson out of the way. Yeah, I keep stories. Let's go. But this is the important principle I'm trying to get across. Why? Because many religions present different aspects of philosophy at different levels, and an uninformed onlooker or follower may label it as what? Primitive or adulterous, etc. But without understanding what is really going on. Quick example. Hinduism, there we go, my boys. And ancient Egyptian religion, watch this, present polytheism and duality at the first two levels. We tell you that, okay, of that religious practice. See, we understand, so we give you understanding. That's the whole part. But however, watch this, at the third level, mysticism kicks in, and the practitioner is now made to what? Understand that all of the gods and goddesses being worshipped previously do what? Not exist, in fact, but are in reality what? Aspects of a single transcendental supreme self. This is evident in the book Per M. Haru, Coming Forth by Day, not the Book of the Dead. Why? Because spiritual enlightenment, knowing thyself, is the ultimate goal for all humans. In this area of yoga philosophy, and the category of, they had a category of monotheism, become one God. There are little, if any, what? Differences. This is because what? These disciplines belong to the third level of religion, wherein what? Mysticism reaches its height. The goal of all mysticism, aka religion, current philosophies, is to what? Transcend. I use the caterpillar concept From the caterpillar, the ignorant, spiritually ignorant is caterpillar. Spiritually enlightened is the butterfly. You have to transform. Okay, I just gave that lesson also. And to transcend what? From the phenomenal world and all its mental concepts. Again, it's all mental. Ordinary religion, watch it, but ordinary religion is a part of the world and what? The mental concepts of people and must too be what? Ultimately transcended. If you're a Christian, your goal is to be like Christ, to sit at the right hand of the Father, to go to his mansion and have many rooms he prepared for you. But that's your philosophy, that's the concept. If that's what you believe, that's fine. I'm not mocking or rocking on it. I'm just saying that's what y'all believe. I know what you do. I study everybody's religion. Trust me. Let's go right quick. Relationships between religion and yoga. Try to break it down, close it out for you right now. The first one you see here, this little guide, I'm going to show you that right quick. They break it down for you. See there? You got mythology, ritual, and mysticism. It's 3 degrees, just like in Masonry. I get the concept because it's all pretty much the same thing, trying to get you to know you. I'll get it. Start first with the mythology of religion. Learning the story of what? The god and goddesses. If we study in Haru, Asar, Aset, and Haru, that's the Anuian theology. They had a philosophy. You study, learn it, practice it, and you emulate them. Simple. Devotion to the deity, and you learn to what? Care for and love the divine. You become like them. You emulate them. That's the first step to get to learning religious practice. Second one is the ritual. What's the ritual? The ceremonies related to the myth. Every Sunday, we meet, fellowship, get blessing from the pastor, hang out. On Wednesday, we prayer line, say prayer for each other, put in ancestral prayer. And on Sundays, we get the message, we come together. That's a ritual. It's a ceremony. And the first Sunday, y'all do the Christ Day, the first Sunday, really, blood of Christ, all that nonsense. Okay, but that's what they practice. It's traditional. That's what they follow. They can't change it. You follow it to best your ability. That's what I'm telling you. And now with that, the ceremonies related to the myth. Okay, you right living. Now you go. Right living in accordance with the principles set forth by the deity in the myth. There's stories in the myth. Last one, the mysticism. This is what happens when you put the work in meditation. Make the connection with your higher self. I gave a lesson about esoteric wisdom. That's the hidden messages behind the esoteric knowledge they give you. I give you the hidden meaning, the true meaning. Okay, so you can understand the esoteric wisdom about what? Life and the spirit that gives us life, which is God. Spiritual transcendence is spiritual enlightenment. You go from spiritually ignorant to spiritually enlightened. See where I'm going with this? I'm wrapping it up. I'm about to take it home. They got down here a few books and texts that you can practice if you want to do the religious thing. A spiritual aspirant who feels a tendency towards approaching spiritual studies with a religious concept. Focus should concentrate on the following text. We got something for you too. The Asarian religion and the Asarian Trinity. That's the myth about Asar, Aset, and Haru. Okay. Then you got the teachings of Anuian theology. I got that book too. The Trinity, the Anuian theology. I got that book. The teachings of the Memphite theology. I have that book. The teachings of Theban theology. I got that book. So they all are giving you concepts and philosophy that you can practice to get what? Spiritual enlightened. It don't make a difference what you call it. It's how you do it. So let me wrap it up. And these are the books above. Those books above are not exclusive of each other, but they each relate to one another in order to what? Show that while you may concentrate on a particular path, you may also integrate elements of others. Also, all of the ancient Egyptian theological systems are what? Related. Okay? They are coherent expressions of what? Wisdom related to who? The divine God, as it expresses in creation. Thus, all the volumes introduce elements from other paths that facilitate the practices of them. Watch that, Thebe and Memphis. All three of them got three different philosophies, three different gods, okay? But they still teach the same thing. Okay, understand it. Like the Christians, you got the Baptists, you got the Holy Rollers, you got the Pentecostals, but they all teach different philosophies. So I understand. Again, I get the concept, but watch this. When they all facilitate the practice of what? Universal religion. And yoga, spirituality, is particular. Why? It is important to understand that the religious path, when practiced, what? Here we go. I'm wrapping it up, but this is important. When practiced in its three stages correctly, will lead to the same spiritual enlightenment, which is possible through what? The yoga, right thinking philosophy, mysticism. However, if, and this is most practiced right here, if religion and yoga are practiced at the lower levels, only they will not yield what? Spiritual enlightenment, but dogmatic and intellectualism or believers. Believers will argue you all day about their belief. I don't have time for that, so I don't practice belief. I want to be Gnostic. That means to know. Right, thinkers? I hope you got the concept between religion and yoga practice, but they all is designed to do the same thing. One just a little different than the other, and one practice a little more diligent than the other. My thing is, if you're going to get enlightened, no matter what you pick and choose, it's the effort that you put forth. That's my lesson, right, thinkers? In closing, may you all live to be 100 and be 100 minus a day. So I never know the right thinker like you passed away, but you got to get enlightened. That's what I do for you. I'll be back.